Hey everyone, Mario again, coming at you another movie review. Today I'm reviewing a movie that the other night when me and Jeff were at our friend LJ's house, which is like a handful of miles away from where I live, we were looking through Netflix and came across this film we all decided to watch together. It's a film from the mid-90s that I never heard of, which considering the 3 stars, I'm like, really? These 3 are in the movie and I've never till now? I must watch. Now we watched it and I have to say I enjoyed the film. Now I wouldn't say that this is a hidden classic. I could say this definitely is the type of film that would deserve the phrase cult classic. I don't know if it is considered one by many, but I could say this definitely would fit the bill if it was. I would put it in the category of time waster because I could see myself rewatching this film. It's not the funniest comedy I have ever seen. I did get a lot of laughs out of it and I did enjoy it, but it doesn't go up into uber classic. I would just say time waster / cult classic. The film, of course, is Airheads. It is directed by Michael Lehmann, I believe his name is pronounced, or Lehmann, who also directed Heathers, Meet the Applegates, The Truth About Cats and Dogs, My Giant, and 40 Days and 40 Nights, and a couple other films. And it stars Brendan Fraser, Steve Buscemi, and Adam Sandler. I know what a couple of you are probably thinking, considering Sandler's more recent work, but he's actually not bad in this one. How his character is, his acting style, specifically his earlier approach when he was less skilled, kind of fits this character. Now it's nothing like his other films. Like the movie's obviously not as great as Billy Madison or Happy Gilmore, or I even think Little Nicky's a little bit of a better film, but that's just me. I think even Click was a better film, but it's still pretty good, and he does work well off of Buscemi and Fraser. They actually do better acting performances than him, but their characters are not as deep as him. Probably Fraser's character is deepest in the film, but it's not even uberly deep. Now, the one thing I really do like about this film is the other actors we got in here. In addition to these, you got Joe Mantegna as a radio jock. You got Michael McKean as the jerk owner of the radio station. I think if this is yeah, it's the one I got. Yeah, it's the right one. I'm just looking at it from here. You got Judd Nelson as a executive named Jimmy Wang, or Wing, excuse me, Wing. You got David Arquette in there in a small role, which I could tell you this is definitely David Arquette's weakest performance I've ever seen, but it's early in his career, so it's kind of forgivable. Though it is kind of funny that he has a Jeff Jarrett-like hairdo when he was in WCW for that brief time he was involved with Jeff Jarrett. You even got cameos by Harold Ramis, which is ironic considering that the lead cop in the film is played by Ernie Hudson. I'm guessing that's how Ramis got the cameo. You even got the late Chris Farley in here as an officer. And of course in the other cameo department you even got a brief little cameo near the end by Lemmy. At one point in the film you see Rob Zombie when he was still in White Zombie. You even got a cameo by Beavis and Butthead. It's an audio cameo, but they're in there. That's probably my favorite part of the film, or the part that got the biggest laugh out of me, because I never expected it. It's a part in the radio station call, isn't it? It's like, oh, it's Beavis and Butthead. Because this was around the height of their popularity, so it makes me wonder how they got Mike Judge to do it, and it really does fit the context of the scene. If there's only one scene I think you should look up from this film, it's this scene. You know, just type in Airheads, Beavis and Butthead, you'll probably find it. Now the plot of the film is that we got Chaz, Rex, and Pip. Chaz is Fraser, Rex is Buscemi, and Pip is Sandler. They are in a Los Angeles rock band called the Lone Rangers, which I know what some of you are probably thinking. You pluralized the Lone Ranger? How does that happen? That's actually a minor running gag. They are constantly being turned down by people as they try to get producers to hear their demo tape. Now as the beginning of the film, as the film opens, Chaz unsuccessfully tries to get Jimmy Wing, a record executive, to listen to the tape, and it fails. And at the same time, he's kicked out by his girlfriend after a minor fight. It's around this time. At this time, the 3 decide to go to Rebel Radio KPPX 103.6 to try to get the studio to play it on the air. Now, when they try to break in, it fails at first, but they eventually get in. That's when they run into the DJ Ian the Shark, Ian the Shark, and he puts them on the air without them realizing it. Now, he's cool with them, because you can tell he's an old school rock guy, probably grew up in the 70s and the 80s, maybe even the 60s. It's kind of hard to tell. I can just tell you that Joe looks way younger in this show, because I know him from Criminal Minds, and he does look older there, but then again, it's 20 years ago, so obviously there's going to be age difference. I mean, like just like with the rest of the actors, but I haven't seen any of his old stuff like that, so it's like, man, he really does look young. Anyway, after Ian's boss comes in and starts, like, you can't have them on the radio, get them out of here. Chaz and Rex pull out water pistol Uzis that are filled with hot pepper sauce and, start holding them hostage. Obviously, they're squirt guns that look like real guns, so they actually think they are real guns. And they basically take the entire studio hostage, because they're on the air, the cops soon get wind of it, and a standoff happens. And the film from here goes with the boys trying to get their demo tape played on the air. The copy they bring gets ruined, so they have to get the other copy, which is with Chaz's ex-girlfriend, so you see a little bit of drama there. While at the same time, they have to make sure the police don't try to come in with a SWAT team, so they give them like ridiculous demands, like a nude picture of B. Arthur, among other weird stuff. And it's just from that the film is enjoyable in its own right. Would I go so far to call it a 90s gem? Maybe in the sense of the fact that no one really talks about this film and it is enjoyable, but like I said, it's not like an uber classic. Like I'd say a 90s classic would be Clerks. Total Recall was 90, so Total Recall would be a 90s classic as well. I mean, Twins is a 90s classic. Depending on your point of view, you might say that the American Godzilla is a 90s gem as well as that. Like I said, that depends on your point of view. Now, the film has a 6.0 on IMDb, so it has a fan base. It has a 51 on Rotten Tomatoes, but a 21 with the critics. I can honestly say I could see this as a film that movie fans would enjoy more than movie critics, because this is one of those films that's just made to be entertaining. And like I said, more or less, I could see why it has these ratings, but I enjoyed the film. When I get into my collection, if it was part of a set, or if they really got a DVD that had a lot of features, because it would be interesting to hear our main trio talk about the film. Because, like I said, this was early in Sandler's career. I know this was semi-early in Buscemi's career. I mean, he'd already done 2 Tarantino films by this point, and he went on to do other stuff like Armageddon, even doing some voice work for Disney. I believe this is early in Fraser's career. The only other film from around this time I could think of that he was in off the top of my head would be Encino Man, which sadly I haven't seen in its entirety. I have a feeling some cavemen are going to want to stone me to death now, but it's true, I haven't seen it in its entirety, just bits and pieces. And of course later he was in the Mummy films, and of course Looney Tunes Back in Action, which I enjoy those films, but that's just me. Lehmann, he does a good job directing though. I don't know if it's because of the fact we watched it on Netflix in HD, or it's how he shot it because of the budget, which the budget was $11 million, which that was probably a good medium-sized budget for the 90s. Now that'd be a very, very low budget. But it worked. Actually, I think that would have been a low budget then, but not as low as it would be now. But anyway, it does kind of show, but it works for what it is. It kind of does give it like a little bit of an MTV vibe, back when MTV actually showed music. Now, if there's anything very, very good about this film, is it does kind of take a shot at the record executives and all that, which, considering the time it came out, I think this was about the middle of the grunge period. I could be wrong. It kind of fits that whole vibe, even though the music in the film is more heavy metal than grunge, and they even have a shot at grunge. It fits the attitude musically of the early 90s. And of course, it's still kind of relevant now, considering how a lot of musicians feel about shows like American Idol and the X Factor and stuff like that, where you can just win a contest and instantly you can get a contract with music, when other people work hard their whole life and don't get one. So it kind of fits with that, and they even poke fun of it at the end. There's even a little shot at lip syncing, which when I saw that, I'm like, yeah, this is just like that one Nirvana incident. Now, if I had to give the film a rating, I'd give it I'd probably give it a 3 out of 5 stars. I mean, it is an enjoyable film. It's not the best comedy I've ever seen, but it kept me entertained, and like I said a couple times already, it is a time waster. If you are a fan of any of Buscemi, Fraser, or Sandler's work, even if it's just the early stuff or mid stuff, I'd say definitely give this a watch. Like I said, it's not as good as some of their other stuff. Like, I can honestly say I like the 2 Tarantino films Buscemi did better. I like The Mummy better. I like Happy Gilmore better, even though I haven't seen it in its entirety in one go, but that movie is vastly better. Like I said, 3 out of 5, and that's it.